initiative.
Well, she called, so.
Oh, she
Yeah,
called.
she
I
called.
want to
She
thank
wanted to
you
let
all
you
for
know.
coming today.
How sweet of her.
I'm Deb
nice.
Koch.
She has a
I develop
difficult
adult programming for the
elderly
library.
husband.
And I would like to introduce Hedda Durnbaugh. She's a hymnologist and a historian.
All right. Well, I'm delighted at this interest in the Amish, our Amish neighbors, and we need to be well informed about them because it's a separate culture from this one here, especially in in the Central Mountains. And so I shall introduce you to several aspects of Amish living. And here are several books that you may look at, not take away with. They're from my personal library, but I shall point out a few. This is the latest that has come out, and this is for anybody who is wondering about genetic diseases. And are you aware of the Central Pennsylvania Clinic in Belleville? That came out of that. Another thing that comes out of the valley is connected with um, a special research institute, research center at Elizabethtown College, and I have the name down here. I have four copies of my itinerary.
Would you like me to make some more?
Yeah, I thought Sue could share it and take it home. If you want to make, they are double-sided.
Yeah, I got it.
For the sake of saving, I was more pessimistic about the interest, and so I made four, allowing for 8 people to share. And then the connection to this research institute at Elizabethtown College is the Young Center for the Study of Anabaptist and Pietist Groups. And that you seem to be familiar with it?
Yes.
Have you worked there?
No, but I have talked to a few people.
Yeah. That's the place everybody goes to, even when there is a big question. For example, this is the book that came out of, if you remember the shooting at the schoolhouse at nickel mines. And this is the book that came out of it, was written by Donald Crable, who is now the retired director of the center. And he received inquiries about this event, explanations, whatever. Everybody was so stunned that it would affect the Amish, the most peacefully loving people imaginable. So worldwide, the institute, the center was known for its insight and good knowledge of Amish life. And no, that's all right. There's no late, there's no early. And every year there are at least 1 or 2 postdoctoral people who come to the center to do some postdoctoral master's level work, and then they come out. That results always in a book, about the Amish. And this is one of the most recent by a young man who lives in Poland and whose parents immigrated to the Carolinas. And he was born here, became fascinated with the Amish in Iowa, selling encyclopedias door to door at Amish houses, because at Amish homesteads and farms, because encyclopedia is a source of knowledge that even the most conservative Amish recognize. And so his Eric Wesner's project was the small businesses. How come they ride out the economic storms and ups and downs unaffected by the market? And so he studied in all the little businesses in Big Valley and came out with this book, Success Made Simple. Why? Because they could run their machinery, they could get their materials in, no problem. And then anything that comes out of the Young Center, Don Crable is the most um, published persons there, and there are some other books, basic books about the Amish. That this is the latest book that he, very cute little book, what the Amish can teach us, and very attractive. It's only $15 in the market, and it's a very good book to give away uh, for anybody who's interested in it. So anyway, Don Crable's name is the guarantee for um, quality scholarship. So if you like, I'm going to pass these out. What? Oh, Deb took one. So, and she brought some others. So I'm going to hand this around and have to share a little bit.
Oh, wait, there we have. Oh, there should be enough for everyone because there were 15.
It's just 2 sheets.
Yeah.
2 sheets. And this is my roadmap that I want to go through.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
And I have to say, I'm very glad that uh, Deb tapped into this particular area of interest. However, I gave you, Deb, forgive me for saying that, now what comes by way of a tiny little criticism. I gave you my title, my blurb, and said, use it the way you want it, the way it best fits in. And Deb, always economically minded, cut out 2 words in the title of my talk. However, they are essential words, essential for the title. And the title here is Amish Singing.
What's the title again?
Amish Singing. How, and I had it originally, this is why the Amish sing the way they do, which also, which does not show up, but it spans my 30-year interest and occupation with this topic, because I heard Amish singing, the genuine Amish singing, which has to be qualified by the 2 words that you, Deb, cut out. And what are those two words? Old order, exactly. The old orders, because the society at large, whether you're on an airplane, and I remember when the Witness film came out, I was going to Finland, and one of my hymnological colleagues had recruited me to speak to his hymn seminar on the Amish singing, and because for them Amish was one big collective term. They had no idea how many different kinds of Amish there are, and I wonder if you know the basic distinctions of Amish groups. Maybe you can enlighten us. There is a divide. There is a divide between um, old order, and the opposite would be, of course, new order. And then there in the valley, there is a subgroup, the Beachy Amish, and the Beachy Amish, in turn, are divided into a more into two churches, which are called the congregations church, into a more conservative, using the German more, and into a less conservative, using the German less. And my friends are with the Pleasant View Beachy Amish, which is the more conservative, less conservative. They use German less in speaking and in teaching, but they used to sing German hymns from their hymnal once a month for half an hour. And that's why I made the connection with them. And then since COVID, they stopped that also. So we have these three groups, and the Beachy Amish, as the name Beachy indicates, they go back to Swiss uh, ancestry, Swiss traditions. And I have here a brief outline. The Amish, if you look through that, if the Amish are always in red, anything pertaining to the old order Amish is in red and print, and should be on your.
I didn't print them in color.
Oh, it's not.
Because those were hers.
Ah, yeah, mine are.
That was
Okay.
the original one.
All right. So old order Amish is always in red, and the next one is in the first section, the 16th century, which is the big Reformation era. And you want to remember that there are two branches, the main branches of church Reformation that acted on behalf of the people to get away from the formality and teachings of the Catholic Church. And there are the two groups, the two big groups that I'm sure you know. There is Luther, and he was Martin Luther, and he was in Germany, and he influenced the North German region. And then there was his opposite, Zwingli, in Switzerland, and that is where the Swiss brethren, the Amish, eventually the Amish, um, originated. They are these. Do you know what sets them off? The Mennonites and the Amish and similar groups, like even the Church of the Brethren, although they were much younger. What is their main objection? What was their main objection to
dress.
no,
The way we baptize. Direct connection to God, not an
no,
intermediary. Is it war? They don't
no?
The way we
That's
baptize.
a side issue. They are pacifists, Christian pacifists. They will not bear arms, but
They won't swear on the Bible either.
they don't take
They don't
an
swear.
oath. No,
They don't.
because in Switzerland you had to take an oath to the locality, to the sheriff, so to speak, to the community, to the canton, to the whole federation, and on and on and on to the emperor ultimately. So there was a series of oath taking, loyalties, allegiances, um, on a very human level. And the only loyalty they considered was to God.
I grew up in the Church of the Brethren.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
affirm.
Yeah, yeah. They affirmed. They affirm. And another giveaway for what the Swiss Brethren and Lutherans objected to is the German word for them, the collective word Wiedertäufer. Wiedertäufer. Do you have any idea what that word would imply? Wieder is again, once again, and Täufer is the name for dunking. Yeah, baptism. And at the time of the 16th century, the state and the church were hand in glove. In other words, the emperor, there was an emperor over all of Europe. He determined Catholicism was the religion, and infants were automatically baptized into the Catholic Church because otherwise their innocent souls would go into limbo, and then it was anybody's guess what would happen to them eventually if they had died before being baptized. Baptism assured heaven for the Catholic Church, the right baptism. And the Swiss Brethren and the Lutherans said, the Swiss Brethren said, no, you cannot baptize a small infant that does not understand what's happening to him or her. It has to be made a free decision, a free decision. And so the big Greek word from the Greek is, you would know that, anabaptism. Ana is the Greek prefix for again, over again. And so in baptizing their believers, church members, they rejected the infant baptism, which made them run afoul of the law of the land. It was an affront to all the overlords, all the way up to the emperor and to the pope. It was an affront by rejecting the infant baptism as not valid. And so they were called the Wiedertäufer, or Anabaptist was the big collective word. So you want to remember here also the Lutheran Reformation, the outcome of the Lutheran Reformation, the movement, should be called Protestantism, whereas the outcome of the Swiss Reformation under Zwingli, he was the big reformer in Switzerland, church reformer, was reformed. Protestantism and reformed are the two alternatives to the Catholicism. So then it struck me that the today's Amish are reflecting very much what happened to them as they had to leave their principalities and could not comply with the law of the local land and the local overlord as far as religion, and everybody had to belong to a church or because they had to pay taxes for the church. And so there were small groups were forming around leadership among the Wiedertäufer or Anabaptists or Swiss Brethren. And the leaders gave their names to the Anabaptists. For example, the Amish derived their name from a leader in the 17th century by the name of Jacob Amann. And that is where the name the Amischen derives from. They were followers of Jacob Amann, and he was a very strict return to the roots, what he imagined what the roots were, biblicism, what was in the Bible went, and what was not in the Bible did not apply. They went to, like all of those small movements, they went back to what they found in the Acts of the Apostles. So, so I lost my train of thought. Amen. Oh, yes, and today there are Beachy is one of the much later groups, and then the Schwarzentruber is a group in upstate New York, and they are very conservative. And Jacob Amann introduced the ban on anybody who infringed, went against the group ethos, the group beliefs. And my husband, who taught this in seminary a lot for many years and wrote about it too, always said for the Mennonites, for the Wiedertäufer, all of those believers' churches, and the some of the mainland churches are like the Baptists are also believers' churches. For them, the cohesion of the believing group was the most important thing that they should aim for, not riding on a particular point of theology, but the cohesion, and that explains why it was important to know for the group who belongs inside and who is outside. And they had then visible signs like no no cars later on in the development of the industrialization, no cars because it would spread out people too much and would destroy the cohesion. And no telephones. Telephones literally crept in by and by. And if the bishop of the small group, the leader, permitted it, then, and the criterion was, will it destroy the cohesion of the group or will it not? With the telephone, it was the fear of the women hanging on the telephone and gossiping all the time. And my old order friends, yeah, and especially with the old-fashioned party lines, when everybody knew what was. Uh, we had an elderly relative in Indiana on the farms, and my husband did. I don't have relatives in America. And in Michigan, they made it a practice of listening in on the party line all the time, and they were very well informed so about what was going on. So the bishop has to approve of the telephone outside of the house if the family were not agriculture farmers and had to have a business to make a living. And so my good friends, old order Amish, the one son had a sawmill in the valley, and the one son-in-law, big sawmill. And so he was allowed to have a telephone way out in the yard on a tree. And then by and by it came closer to the house until now it is in an addition to the house where they even have running water for washing hands and drawing from a well. And it did not disrupt the cohesion of the little church, because the church has to be within small enough so that they could all get together to render each other mutual aid in times of stress, in times of need, in times of illness, and so on. And they had to be able to get together, especially the old orders, by horse and buggy at a short notice. And that these are all very practical considerations. And the one issue as late as 1927 was whether the big tractors wheels in the agricultural machineries were allowed to have rubber wheels instead of just the metal frames, metal whatever, rims that tore up the roads and made a lot of noise and dust. And so there was a big issue, and a big group of Amish split over that issue. One bishop allowed it, the rubber wheels, and the other bishop did not allow it because he deemed his group not fit to handle this. And the young people, they have this opportunity to experience the world when they are in their teens, and they are called it Rumspringen, running around. And then they may sow their wild oats, especially the boys. and learn what the world is about as long as they come back in. And as long as they are not members, they are allowed to sow their wild oats. And so there are certain values that we can now see in the simplicity that they observe, that makes life safer and less stressful for them in a way. So, so now about and because they are so um, scripture bound, they also uh, they also have their own version of the Bible, which is the Swiss Bible, that was put together by Zwingli and his friends. They were all solid theologians, 1535, and they keep using that in their worship services. Now, another thing about the worship services is that the fact that they where's my big black? Where's my big blue bag? I have another. Uh, what did I do with it?
Oh.
A big blue. It says communal studies on it.
Oh, there's a blue bag.
That's a folder.
Oh.
Oh well, it will be found. It has to be in plain sight. This is a reprint. So they to get to the singing, uh, they sing. Oh, never mind, never mind. It only has a 1580, 1752 imprint of this hymnal in it. It will be.
Maybe it's in your car.
I don't have a car.
You brought it in.
I brought it in. I emptied it out. No, never mind, never mind. It will be found. I fortunately I have this. This is a later edition. They sing in their worship services, which are not open to the public. Even good friends of the old orders have to be personally invited to participate in a worship service. And everything is in the old order in German, and and it's a very peculiar situation because the Bible reading is from that old 1535 hymnal Bible translation, and they don't they don't relate to that. They speak Pennsylvania Dutch, which has gone, which was a Swiss, originally a Swiss dialect that went through all kinds of adaptations from the host languages where they migrated through. As you can see, there were many migrations in the different countries, and they picked up language habits and expressions on the way, and as they settled there. So they don't understand this German anymore. Not even the preachers understand everything that they preach about. And the same goes for the hymns that the hymns that should be in a book of this size. Uh, this is really funny. This is funny. Oh, I know what I did with it. Here it is. No, it isn't. That is my purse. Well, this is a mystery. This is a mystery. This is funny. So, at any rate, this is one of the early Pennsylvania imprints, a Xerox copy of it on my printer, and it is put together by the great Pennsylvania German um printer Christoph Sauer of Germantown, very famous for having printed the first Bible, complete Bible in a European language in the colonies. There was only one partial Bible in an uh, in a native language, the Eliot Bible, that was earlier, but that doesn't count. This is the first. He printed the first full German Bible in 1543. Very famous. 3 editions, and he also uh, he also uh, printed then for the Anabaptists the hymnal, and so these hymns were sung by by religiously. I cannot help but keep looking upon this big blue bag. Uh, 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 um, yeah, and this is and they believed very much in this is this is a recording that was done for the Library of Congress in the 20th century in Lancaster County by an old order church group. It does not sound, I cannot understand a single word, and maybe here and there.
Old German?
It's all German.
Old.
The way it's not old German, it's standard German, but the way the the old order Amish pronounce it, they have their own way of
Like an accent.
pronounce. Well, it's a dialect. Let's not get into linguistic things. Um, so, and it goes. It is for my first paper 31 years ago. I tried to find out what was the reason for this roundabout singing until they got to the note that they wanted. It is the effect of singing without an instrument backing them up, reminding them of the music and reminding them of how the melody went. And there is no direction, no choir song leader, nothing. It is all in their memory. And the memory over several hundred years fails. And they have, and there are various scholars have put forward various theories, and that's it. And I kept looking. Yeah,
Is anything written down? Any note? Like,
no, No,
Like up
that's
or
from
down?
that's from the devil.
Oh,
Yeah, that is locally. Locally, there was a Joe Yoder who grew up in the valley. He in an old order family, and he wanted to learn more about. So his parents went Mennonite, and so then he could go to school. He could go to college. He could go to study music. He loved to sing. He
so,
became
excuse me, the Amish wouldn't permit that, so his parents became Mennonite because they're more liberal.
and they were good singers, and they didn't connect the devil with the written notes, and that's another story of itself. Um, Here is the same. Here, I'll send this around. This is the same song, "Live Peacefully Together," written by uh, a, um, a Mennonite school teacher in the Netherlands, Leonard Klock. And it's a very well-known, much beloved hymns that the Mennonites sing, and even the Amish. But this is what developed in America, the shape notes in the 19th century, to teach people to read music, not be afraid of reading music. It's not a bad thing to be able to be literate in that. And this Joe Yoder, whose parents became Mennonites so the son could go to higher education, he became a professor at the college for, for choir singing, Joe Yoder, and he lived on Mifflin Street. And his widow, we knew his widow quite well around 1960. And so he became one of those song leaders, song teachers. He had his own singing schools, and he was much sought after. And these singing schools took place over a series of days, mostly on weekends. And this shape notes was one way of teaching people to read music. And so Joe Yoder had the idea he was going to interview as many surviving members of long in the valley who could still remember some of the melodies. And he wrote a book, Amish Songs, and it contains some 20 church songs, some 20 church songs that were the various singers remember the melodies, and they are very elaborate melodies, and not at all reminiscent of the original, the way we sing them in church in Europe, in the Lutheran churches or in the Reformed churches. No relation at all, because they are all over the map, the musical map. And my best explanation came from an American musicologist earlier, uh, one of the first formal musicologists, ethnomusicologists, that is, he studied the music of a particular ethnic group, which the Amish are. And his name is George Pullen Jackson. George Pullen Jackson. You want to remember that name. And he has a whole series of books. He recorded for the Library of Congress numerous groups in their singing. And he came up, and some others came up with the very illustrative image of a person coming back at night, forgetting his keys, fumbling for his keys, fumbling for the keyhole, and then finally finding the keyhole, and there was the note. And that's where he started. And then he did the same thing for the next note, and so on and on, and that became a very long, drawn out. He had to reconstruct that somehow over centuries of forgetting. And these were very old, complicated, um, complicated melodies. For example, the Amish have a the Amish have a tradition for their worship services, and the Amish, not just the old order Amish, but the Amish are spread across the whole country from coast to coast. All the way, they're very conservatives in California and Oregon, and of course in Pennsylvania. And so every Sunday they have service at the same time. And as you go through this particular hymn, number 81, which starts a new section in this fat book, the big book, the sticky book, that's what I'm looking for, the sticky book. um, uh, they, uh, they sing that it has three. It is a doxology. It is a praise God to whom our blessings flow. The first stanza is about praising God, then Jesus, then the Holy Spirit. Three long stanzas. You can see these are the stanzas. They're long, but they're not all that long, but they become very long in the old order way of singing. But all old orders make this the second hymn in every Sunday service. They all start at the same time, and as the earth progresses through the time series sequences, the time zones, there is a continuous singing of this song from coast to coast, which was one of the favorite illustrations of a old Mennonite hymnologist. He said to me, uh, "There is a non-stop singing of praise every Sunday, beginning at 11 Eastern Time and going all the way through the West Coast." And it's because it takes so long to sing it. It takes a long time to sing it. It fills a whole half hour, and so and so and you're welcome. Since this is a very important hymn book, it has been reprinted by the Amish many times, many times. This is the 41st known edition printing in 1997 in Lancaster County, published, and it is in small format, and you may pass it around. This is a reprint, it cannot hurt anything, and so look at it, and if you go to hymn number 81, that is where you find this hymn of praise. Uh, yeah, so no, and you won't find any music in it because there are no notes. Because notes are printing is vain and vanity is from the devil, and in their view, and higher learning is not necessary, and you have to have some higher learning education for reading music. So that is out, and so so that is a no. And I, in my search for uh, where this singing could have, if there are other groups that are in the same predicament like the Amish, uh, I went around and listened to a lot. I don't have anything that is except one I finally found. And if you go to the page 3, where it says the examples, then you will sound examples you will hear. I'm going to go through them one by one, and you can hear what was in the air at the time of the Amish when they formed themselves and came to America, which is the early 18th century. Um, so this is what you will have heard, although it's in Swedish, what you will have heard from, let me see, I have a little problem here. Yeah,
They have a song leader.
no. These people have a song leader. These people have a song leader. Now, the examples have song leaders. And this first one is particularly interesting to me because this is a 700 member choir congregation who all who are composed of numerous local choirs of people who said they cannot sing in a choir, they cannot read music, nothing. And this particular organist, choir director, was determined to teach them, yes, they can. So they called themselves, we cannot sing in a choir, um, originally. And over time, they had a movement going where locally they taught the organists and choir directors taught them, the congregation, to sing in a choir, like in a choir. And this is the result. And this is the result. Wait a minute. I they, these are all Lutheran hymns in Swedish, sung by the 700 voice congregational choir, who now call themselves, yes, we can sing in a choir.
Please turn it up a little bit.
What?
I'll turn it up just a little bit. Volume, make it a little bit.
It blasted me out of my ears. these are seniors and children's voices together. And I love them. I like it. I know all of those hymns from singing them in Sweden. And it's just delightful. What can be done, you know? Now, I'll play you something totally different, something much more formal, which would have been sung in a sophisticated Lutheran congregation of the mid 18th century. These are traditional hymns, and they are piety. I mentioned the Center for Anabaptist and Piety Studies. Pietism. Do you know what pietism is? I'm sure you have. You could not have been to the Young Center without um, encountering pietism. But that was a movement of the renewal of the church life of the Lutheran Church in Germany, which had kind of petrified in bureaucracy and in formality, and they wanted to bring. It was a revival movement, you could say, and they had an enormous output on in new hymn writing, new melodies composed by composers of the time, very good composers. And the Anabaptists, the Wiedertäufer, they did not approve of that because it was too operatic, too dramatic, too Italian. And it's sure Bach and the composers of the time were influenced by the Italian liveliness in beautiful music of the South. And this is something like that, if I can find it. Yeah, which one? Well, you will probably recognize it. I have trouble with this, with the machine. I never know which thing to press. I want to, oh, here it is. Actually, I wanted to play number 12. Some American hymnologists don't like that. It's so frivolous. This
niemand stört, was niemand berührt, hat ihre erleuchtete Seele geführt, wo der göttlichen Würge führt. Sie wandert auf Erde und leben im Himmel. Sie bleiben ohnmächtig und schützen die Welt. Sie schrecken den Frieden bei allem Getümmel. Sie kriegen die Herzen, was ihnen gefällt. Sie stehen im Leiden, sie bleiben in Freuden. Sie schreien ertört den äußeren Sinn und fühlen das Leben des Glaubens von ihm. Wenn Christus ihr Leben wird offenbar werden, wenn sich einst wie ist öffentlich stellt.
So that was that. And then comes something.
So werden
Here comes now from Pennsylvania. If they were lucky to go to if the early Anabaptists in Pennsylvania were lucky enough to live near a Moravian settlement like Lidditz or Bethlehem or in South Carolina, in North Carolina rather, they would have heard this kind of music. 9. And it's a praise to the Lord, but not the way we know it. Oh, what am I doing? Deb, come. My machine and her skill. Oh,
Is that what you wanted? Okay.
you shook it.
I just need to stand here. It's like the mechanic with your car.
Yeah. Now this is typical for the Moravians, who were great music lovers, and they had their own composers, even for orchestral pieces. They had a huge library of in Lidditz they have a big museum of instruments that they used, and they were great music lovers. Well, that gives you an idea of what that is. The Moravians were wonderful. And they had great traditions with their music. But then I found the real answer. This is from the island of Rhön. Shake it. I have to go to the first one. first, and then I want to go to number 3. That's
30.
that's the radio.
Okay. Is that what you
Oh.
wanted? Okay. Is that what you wanted?
What is this?
Okay,
That doesn't sound right.
wait.
That sounds like radio. Oh,
Is that the right? What you call it? I don't know.
I want the beginning of the.
Okay. This
No,
is-
yeah,
What number are you going to?
1 and 3. Okay. I thank you. Oh, that is peculiar. High tech is beyond me. This is
Is that what you want?
these are Swedish religious emigres in on an island outside of Estonia in the Baltic Sea, and they migrated from there in the 1800s, the same time that the Amish, the Wiedertäufer went to America. They went east, southeast to Estonia. But you know, they had the same problem. They were Swedish speaking, but not also separated from their own language in Sweden. And they have, I can understand many words there. And they don't feel they have to look for the, they have a better memory. I want to get the woman's voice.
Okay, so and that's what number?
That's the woman's
3?
voice is 1.
You
Oh,
have
well.
Number 3. Let's see.
It's fraught with
Is that what you wanted?
This is a very well-known hymn. I recognize the melody. It's a melody. And I can recognize certain words, Swedish words, that sound very much like the German words. Nade, for example. These people were also being recorded for the archives in Estonia because they were about to be repatriated back to Sweden, to the homeland after 300 years gone. Those who wished to be repatriated. But the culture would have been brought to an end then.
Excuse me, were they evicted originally? You said repatriated. Why? Evicted for religious reasons and now forgiven 300 years
They
later?
were a small group of church, no church like in England, you know, and also in Norway. But so the formal church, the formal Lutheran church, had no was not welcome, and so they migrated for various reasons, not necessarily, but 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 I want to close with something very very upbuilding, Moravian again. If I can find it, I hope. Oh yeah, here it is. Is it?
Are we okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like Hallelujah chorus.
Yeah, it's joyful. Appropriately called Sing Hallelujah. And that is the flagship of the Moravians. Like 666 was the flagship of Mennonites.
After leaving the Amish.
No, the Mennonites never left the Amish. I mean, the Amish left the big body of Wiedertäufer. And the Moravians are also very well known for their trombone choirs. And on Easter Sunday, they, before daybreak, they gather, trombone players and the singers gather in the congregation, gather at the church and walk up to the God Save Her, the cemetery, and greet the sunrise there. And under the sound of the trombones. It's a wonderful experience. And the cemeteries are arranged, I don't know whether you are aware of that or not, but they are arranged vocal parts, choir parts. The children and the sopranos together, and the women together, the boys and the men are all not in families but in choirs. Because they will rise to be forming the heavenly choir. That's wonderful. It's whatever you imagine heaven might be. And they imagine this, which I think is a good thing to have. Well, I thank you especially for your
Thank you.
I usually do much more organized and formal, ready to be printed.
Oh, this was good. We're informal here.
Yes, we are. We're among ourselves. So they love music.
Just flattened down. Or she wants to know, are you sure this is not your bag?
But where's the book?
There's a book.
No, there's no book.
This isn't yours?
This is the bag. But where's my big book?
Okay, another book. So we're looking for a book. And leather bound. How, what size? Small? Oh, a little book.
No, it's a big book.
Is it this size?
This size.
Okay, this is the size of the book. Does anybody see a book like this? Big book.
No, this is the one.
Oh, there's one.
That's what she has for him. There's two of them there.
The black, the blue bag is there.
Yes. So I've got the first Friday and the third Friday.
Could you have put it in here?
No, it would not fit.
Oh, okay.
I need to stop all this.